So welcome. So we're going to be installing OpenMediaVault 5 as quickly and as painlessly as possible, and we're going to be giving you tips along the way to prevent future problems. So hi, my name is Jeff and I'm TechnoDadLife, and so what we're going to be doing today is installing OpenMediaVault 5. And so OpenMediaVault is a server software based on Debian where it can be used as a file server. You can use it for Plex. You can use it for all sorts of different things, such as your video cameras or your surveillance cameras or other things like that. And so today's guide, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be installing this properly. And as we go through this today, what we're going to be doing is showing you how to avoid those pitfalls in the future. So the first thing you need to do is go to openmediavault.org and then click on the downloads button. And then where it says here, there, you need to click there. And now that takes us to the SourceForge page, and let's take a close look at that. So here we have a tab for single board computers, and there's the tab for x86. For single board computers, I have a guide for that right up here, and I would suggest going to watch that one. A lot of what you'll see today applies to that, but this first part, when we actually install it, doesn't apply. So that one will probably be more helpful to you. And so next we're going to click on 505, and then we're going to click on OpenMediaVault, and we're going to download that. And so this will take a few minutes to download, so go get yourself a cup of coffee. Once that's downloaded, then we're going to head over to putty.org, and on putty.org we're going to click right here where it says here, and then we're going to download and install Putty. Once that's downloaded and installed, then we need one more piece of software before we can install everything. So we need to go to Bella Anna Etcher, then we need to download Etcher, and then we need to install it. And then once that's installed, we can actually start doing things. So next what we're going to do is open up Bella Anna Etcher, and we're going to burn our OpenMediaVault ISO to a USB drive. So the first thing you want to do is click Select Image, navigate to where you have OpenMediaVault 5, click on OpenMediaVault 5 and open. And so what it means by select target is you have to put a USB drive into your computer. Now once we've done that, we can close this window and you can see our drive is shown up, and then we click Flash. So once Bella Anna Etcher is done writing to that drive, it will automatically unmount it, so you can just pull the drive directly out. Now your computer that you have that you're going to be installing OpenMediaVault on, you wanted to boot it up, go into the BIOS and change two settings. So one is you want it to be able to boot from the USB drive, and the other, if you're going to be doing virtualization, you want to enable virtualization in the BIOS. So once you've done that, click F10 and save, and then plug in your USB drive and boot it up. So once this screen comes up, hit enter to install. Then choose your language and your country and your keyboard. Now it will load lots of stuff. Type in the name for your system and then hit enter again. And domain you can just leave on local. Now type in your root password, then hit enter, and then you retype it again, hit enter, and then your clock, hit enter. And now we're going to partition our disks. And so for OpenMediaVault, you need at least 8 gigs for a hard drive, and so you can use a small SSD or a SD card or a USB drive if you like, or you can just stick it on a regular hard drive. So we're going to use the 8 gig one, hit enter. And so now it's going to be installing the system, so just take your time, go have another cup of coffee. And now we're going to configure the package manager, so pick out your country or one close by, hit enter. And then your mirror, and we don't have a proxy, so hit continue or enter. Now at this point, what you need to do is pull out your USB drive and then restart your computer, and then OMV will be up and running. So what we're going to do now is go to our router and then find our OpenMediaVault server. So log into your router and then go to where it lists all the different computers on your network. And so here's our new one. And so there's our IP address, and we're just going to click go to. So the username is admin, and the password is Openmediavault, and then click login. So now we're to our Openmediavault GUI, and what we're going to do is go step through step to get everything set up for success. So we're going to go over to this left-hand side. We're going to start with general settings, and we're just going to work our way down to make sure everything is set up properly the first time. So click on general settings, and the first thing that you want to do is change this auto logout. If you don't change this auto logout, basically anytime you're working on your server, it's going to log out every 5 minutes. And so I tend to do something, and then I do something else and come back and it's logged out and I have to log back in. So if you change this, it won't do that. So what we're going to do is change it to 1 day and then click save. Then apply and yes. If you want to enable SSL certificates or TLS, this is the place that you would do it. What we're going to do next is change the web administrator password to something that's more secure. Type that in here, then click save. Now we're going to go to date and time. And so for this, we want to make sure our time zone is set up correctly. And for me, it is. If you need to change it, you just press the down arrow over here, and then it will give you options for time zones. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to use an NTP server, and that will automatically update our time for us. So just click on that, and then up here at the top, click save. And then apply and yes. Now we're going to go to network, and we're going to click on our interfaces. And that's your interface that's on your computer, and you click on that, and we're going to click on edit. And we're going to scroll down to where it says DNS servers, and we're going to put in a DNS server. And I put in 8.8.8.8, which is Google. And we're going to click save on that, then apply and yes. And so what this is going to do is give us a stable DNS server, the Google server. And when we change DNS servers, our router is going to give us a new IP address. So what we can do is just close that window. We're going to go back to our router, find what our new IP address is, and then we have to log back in again. So close that window, click leave. Refresh your router page, and here you can see that my IP address has changed by 1. So again, click on that and go to. Now this time, because we have logged out and we're logging back in, now you have to put in that new password that you put in for the admin. So again, type in admin, your new password, and then log in. And so now we are back in our server, and we will never have a DNS issue. Pretty nice, actually. So if we go to the next one, this is if you want to enable notifications, so your computer or your server will send you notifications of things happening. You would put that in here. You cannot use a Google name server. You have to use a private email server. Next is power management, so we're going to click on that. So this line right here is, so what happens when the power button is pressed, and currently it says nothing. What we're going to do is have it shut down. And then we're going to click save again, then apply and yes. Then we click on the schedule jobs tab. And this is actually to add schedules to basically reboot, shut down, or stand by the server. And below you can either set it hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. So we're not going to do that at this time, but this is the tab where you would do that. Next, we're going to go to monitoring. And so monitoring is enabled by default. Certificates, this is again where you would add SSH or SSL certificates. Schedule jobs is where you would enable cron jobs, and it's just like the power management one. You click add, you set a time or date, and then down below here where it says commands, this is where you would add in your scripts, that whatever you want to run at that time. Next we'll go to Update Manager. And so how you update is you click right there, and then that will pick all the packages, then click upgrade. And again, the first time you update the system, it takes a little while, so once that's done, click close and reload. And if we go back to Update Manager, there's no more updates at this time. If we click on Settings, here you can add different repositories. I wouldn't suggest changing those though at this time. And the next item is plugins. We click on that. Here are different plugins, and they're in different sections: admin, backup, file systems, monitoring, multimedia, network sharing, and utilities. But the community has provided a whole bunch of plugins, and so where you find those is at openmediavaultextras.org. So let's go there. And so from this page, it used to be more stuff going on, but it's been simplified. All we're going to do is all that we need from this page is this line right here. And so before we do that though, what we're going to do is go back to our OpenMediaVault. Then we need to open PuTTY. First thing we need to do is copy our IP address, paste that right here into PuTTY, and then we just need the center section, so we get rid of the end there in the beginning. And so we're going to make this a save session, so then we can log back into our server quickly. So type in a name and then click save, and so that will save it, and then click open. And so the first time that you do this, you'll get this thing where it says, do you want to actually do this? Yes. And then we say yes. And so now we are into our server, but we have to log in first. So we're going to log in as root. And then our password that we made when we first installed OpenMediaVault, and then hit enter. So now we're at the command line. And so what we need to do is go back here, copy this line from OpenMediaVault Extras, and then just right click, and that will paste it into PuTTY, and then hit enter. And so this will install OpenMediaVault Extras and all the references to all the plugins. So there'll be new plugins in our plugin list there. And there you can see it's done. And then we're going to refresh our window. And now you can see we have a new tab called OMV Extras. But before we go there, we're going to go back to plugins, because under plugins there'll be new plugins. And so we're going to install two. The first is the flash memory plugin. And so what this will do is put our file system in temporary files, so then we don't have as many reads or writes, especially to thumb drives and SSDs, but it will also make our system a little faster. So just click there and it will change color. And we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to go to reset perms. And I like this one because sometimes Dockers or other programs reset permissions, and this is just a quick and easy way to change them back. So we're going to click there, and then we're going to go to the install button, and we're going to click install. And yes, once that's done, click close and OK to reload the page. Now if we go back to plugins, you can see we have the flash memory plugin installed, and there's a new tab for it over on the left hand side, which we'll get to. If we scroll down further, reset permissions is now installed, and where we'll find that is actually under our shared folders, and we'll see that in a second. So if we click on OpenMediaVault Extras, it's got a new style now. So I had actually made an earlier video of this, of OMV Extras, but it's actually gotten a new sort of GUI so it should be simpler, but it's just a little different than what it was before. And so on this page we don't have to do anything. So basically backports is enabled, and that allows us to have more drivers for more modern computer equipment. Testing repo is for things that are being tested. As far as I know, the extras repo here doesn't do anything at the moment. If we go to Docker, what we're going to be doing is installing Docker, and Right there you can see it's not installed at the moment. And so what Docker is sort of a fast and actually very safe way to install things on your server, but doesn't take up a lot of room like it would with virtual machines. So next what we're going to do is click on the Docker button and then click Install. That will start downloading Docker. Once that's done, click Close. Then we're going to click on Portainer and install that one. And then once that's done, that usually just takes a few minutes or a few seconds, and then you can click Close. Here you can see the Web UI button has been activated. So if we click on that, that opens up Portainer. We're going to put in a password, click Create User, click on Local, and then Connect, and then we're in the Portainer environment. If you click on the blue whale, that will bring you to the containers and images and all that. And I have a separate video about Portainer. Now if we come back to our UI, we can see there's two more things here. There's Cockpit and there's Kernel. So let's click on Cockpit. Cockpit is an alternative to Portainer that does Docker, but it also can run virtual machines. It's just not as feature rich. Under kernel, what we can do is hold our kernel or unhold our kernel or set a default kernel. And why we would do this is for certain either hardware or software that we're using where you need to maintain those. The Proxmox kernel is great for if you're running ZFS. It makes it run much more smoothly. So Clonezilla downloads a copy of Clonezilla and then will let us boot from that to copy our drive. Gparted is used to reconfigure our partitions. And then finally down at the bottom, System Rescue CD is a System Rescue CD that we download and then we'll boot from in order to fix any problems with our system. I personally have never had the use for it, but it's there if you need it. So that is OMV Extras, which there's quite a lot going on there. So let's move down to the next section. So next, let's click on Disks. And so here is our 2 disks on our server. So this is where our OS is located, and then this is where our data is going to be. And so click on your data drive, click Wipe, and yes, quick. And then once that's done, click Close. Next we'll click on Smart, and this is to enable smart monitoring of your drives. So you would click Enable and then Save, and you can schedule tests and look at your devices. RAID management is if you want to set up a RAID array if you have more than one disk, and I'll just give you a general idea of how to do that, but it's very simple. I only have one disk on the system, so I can't actually set up RAID. So if you click Create, you would pick out your type of RAID and then select your devices down below, and you would put a name up above, and then you would click Create. And then generally, depending on how big your devices or your disks are, it can take several hours or even a day, depending also on how fast your machine is. Next, we'll click on File System. And here you can see we have our SDA1, which is our OS drive, and then here is our swap partition, SDA5, but we don't see that other disk that we just erased under the disk section. So what we do is we click Create, and then select a device, and then now our disk shows up, and we can label this. We'll label this Media. You can pick your file system here, and then click OK, and yes, and then it will wipe your drive and create a partition. Once that's completed, you can click Close. And so now you can see here is our drive, but we don't see anything under availability, used, or mounted. So we have to click on this so it's yellow, and then click Mount, then Apply, and yes. So now our drive is mounted, so now we can use it to put folders on and data on that we can actually use. We're going to go to Access Rights Management. We're going to skip the users and the groups for right now and go to Shared Folders. So under shared folders, this is where you get to be creative, but we're going to do it a little differently, so then you can actually use it with one of my other videos to actually install all the software on your system, or most of the software that you need on your system, automatically. And so because of that, we're going to make a little decision here. And so that decision is we're just going to add in one shared folder. And we're just going to call that 1. And we're going to put it on that drive, that media drive that we just made. And here we can actually change this to everyone read write. And then we're going to click Save, Apply, and Yes. Other things on this tab, Reset Permissions. So that's that plugin that we just installed. And so how you would use this is you would, on the right here, click down to the folder that you want to change. And then you would click down again and then change it to whatever you wanted. And if you had any ACLs, you would click on that. And then you click Reset Permissions. And it would do that. And then you can click Save. But it doesn't seem to really do anything. Then finally over here is Shared Folders in Use. And so right now we don't have any because they're not referenced. So if we go down to the Services section, we have some options here. So by default, we can either do a NFS share or a SMB share. You can use either one. SMB shares seem to be more universally accepted by Mac, Windows, Linux PCs. So that's what I'm going to show you. So click on SMB. And at the top here, we're going to click on Shares and then Add. So we're going to select our folder. We're going to Guess Aloud, and then we're going to click Save. And then Apply and Yes. Now we have our one shared folder there. We're going to go back to Settings. We're going to click Enable and then Save. Then Apply and Yes. Now in our Windows machine, if we click on the file in the taskbar, click on Network, now you can see there is our server located. If we double click on that, there's our one share, and we can go inside of that. So let's go back for a second. So now what we're going to do is make our users. So we're going to click on Users, and then Add a user. And pick out whatever name you want. Put in a password for them. So I'm going to guess this user is you, and so this user will be a little different. So you're going to give extra rights to you so you can log in or do SSH or sudo on your machine. So we're going to click on Groups and then scroll to the SS. And so we're going to enable two things, so sudo and then SSH. And again, that's the SSH into our machine. And then we're going to click Save. And then Apply and Yes. To add more users, you would just do the same steps. Just do not add in sudo or SSH. So next we're going to click on Settings. And we're going to enable User Home Directory, and then if you have more than one file, then you would click on this and pick the file. We just have one directory or one data disk, so we don't actually have to change anything here, and then click Save. So if we go check on our share, here we are back on the network, we're on our server, and we're into our one media folder. Double click on that, and now there is a Jeff folder. And so you can use this to separate out users and their information. Everybody gets a separate folder. And if you follow my Automagic Docker install video, which I'll post at the end here, then you will need this folder. So we can close that. And so we have our users set up. If we go down to Diagnostics, this is just our dashboard that we see when we come in the beginning. We can pick system information, and here see how much CPU or memory our system is using, see what processes are running, performance stats by CPU, disk usage, load, so on and so forth, and then just a general report. system logs, services. Now if we go up to Openmediavault extras, go to Docker. So the next step is there's going to be a video link up here to how auto-magically install Dockers on Openmediavault. And so you need to follow that video. The first part of the video, you will find that we've already taken care of a lot of those common problems that people have. So just be patient during that part, but then you'll get to how to install them. It will save you hours and hours of time. So definitely go do this video next. And you have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.